reading comes from St. John, the 19th chapter, beginning with the 38th verse. After these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, though a secret one because of his fear of the Judeans, asked Pilate to let him take away the body of Jesus. Pilate gave him permission, so he came and removed his body. Nicodemus, who had at first come to Jesus by night, also came, bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, weighing about 100 pounds. They took the body of Jesus and wrapped it with the spices in linen cloths, according to the burial custom of the Jews. Now there was a garden in the place where he was crucified, and in the garden there was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. And so, because it was the Jewish day of preparation, and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. Early, on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." I invite you to rise. We'll say that since it was a long reading, I let you sit for the first part. Then Peter and the other disciples set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together, but the one disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down to look in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came following him and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white, sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. The angel said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and to your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her. The Gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
I invite you to be seated. During our Lenten Round Robin series this year, we are invited to turn to various characters in the Gospel of John to learn, to grow, and to be moved by their witness. Tonight we look at the witness of Mary Magdalene. As we journey beside her, we look in on a story that speaks to us of thankfulness, of grief, and of calling. We do not know much about Mary Magdalene, or Mary from Magdala, who was called a Magdalene. She is a character that often gets a bad rap. Rumors that she was a prostitute started around the 5th and 6th century and became so widespread that that's pretty much all we know about her today. Incorrectly, as this is never actually stated in the New Testament scriptures. She is not explicitly named to be the one caught in adultery who is threatened with stoning, nor in other stories that often get attributed to her. In What we know of Mary Magdalene is that she was a woman who had a great illness or demons, and Jesus healed her, inviting her to experience God's power and action in her life. Likely out of response and thankfulness, she was also a woman who provided for Jesus and the disciples out of her personal resources. We read in the Gospel according to John, we read just now, that Mary stood near the cross of Jesus as he was crucified. Her presence beside Christ bears evidence to her thankfulness for what he had done in her life. Before being healed by Jesus, Mary knew great pain and hardship. She still bore memories of it, and Christ helped her through it and invited her to healing. And now it was she who bore witness to Christ's suffering. She witnessed his murder, and as soon as she was permitted, while it was still dark, she returned to the place where she knew him to be buried. Finding the stone that sealed the grave rolled away, she ran and told a couple of the disciples, who came and checked it out, and then the disciples went home. Mary, on the other hand, stayed. She stood and wept outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent to look inside and saw two angels. The next bit is strange, as typically when we hear angels mentioned in Scripture, we hear the command, "Do not be afraid." Apparently, angels are scary. It appears Mary, however, is too overcome in her grief to warrant such instruction, because instead they speak to her in compassion. "Why are you weeping?" Mary's grief is profound. Amidst this grief, we witness compassion, and in it we see God's compassion. The angels speak to Mary with compassion as they speak tenderly to her. Jesus himself addresses Mary compassionately, and in her grief, Mary fails to recognize Jesus. She does not recognize the speaker, Jesus, nor does she hear his question as a reminder of the one for whom she is looking. Jesus, who foretold his death and resurrection, and that he wouldn't be found among the dead anymore. Who are you looking for? Her grief is blinding as she fails to recognize who Jesus is, though he stands right beside her. And then Jesus calls her by name. Amidst her grief and sorrow, Mary hears Christ say her name, and he invites her yet again to healing and wholeness. Christ invites Mary again to see life and the world in light of God's power and action. Christ invites Mary to be comforted, knowing that death does not have the power that it once did. That the freedom and healing she has witnessed and experienced is not limited to this life only. This is what seeing him again means. And then Jesus says to her, "Go. Go and tell." This is the witness that Mary of Magdala shares with each of us today. The story of one who knew hardship and found comfort and healing in a compassionate Jesus. The story of one who knew loss and grief and tremendous pain and suffering and was not abandoned in the midst of it, but was guided through it, even while she was blinded by her grief, even while she was invited to see again. The story of one who witnessed that there is more to life than death, more to living than can be seen in our present state, and healing beyond measure. Seeing this, hearing this, she went and told others that they too might be comforted in their grief, that they too might know healing and see that there is more to this life than death, more to living than life on earth, and that even in the life we live here and now, we can know healing and wholeness. As one of the first witnesses to the death and resurrection of Christ, Mary Magdalene helps us to see the true meaning of the cross in our lives, the power of the cross to bring healing and wholeness and to strengthen us amidst times of great sorrow. This Lenten journey, as we focus on the meaning and impact of the cross in our lives, let us remember well the witness of Mary as we recall our own experiences of Christ's healing, Christ's presence in our grief, and the call to witness